Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kendall Ty, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I make my crochet beanies. So normally whenever I make my crochet beanies, I do use a weight 5 bulky yarn for hats like this. But in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I make the beanie with a weight 4 yarn. The pattern for each hat is the same, and the only difference is the number of rows. So starting off with supplies, you're going to need your yarn of choice, whether that's a weight 4 or weight 5 yarn. Today, I'm going to be using Big Twist Value in the color Titanium Gray, and I'm going to pair that with the size 4.5mm hook. Although I'm not going to be using this yarn today, this is the bulky yarn that I normally use. It's the Loops and Threads Charisma Acrylic from Michaels. And whenever I use this yarn, I pair it with the size 6mm hook. You're also going to need some scissors. And today I'm going to be using stitch markers, but they are optional. To outline the pattern for each beanie, if you're using weight 4 yarn, you're going to do 10 double crochet into the magic circle. You're going to do an additional 6 rows of increases for a total of 7 rows for the crown of the hat. And then you're going to do 13 more rows with no increases, giving you a total of 20. And once you fold it up, your brim should be about 3 to 4 rows long. And for the hat with the weight 5 yarn, you're going to do 10 double crochet into the magic circle, 4 more rows of increase for a total of 5 rows at the crown. And then you're going to do 10 more rows with no increases, giving you a total of 15 rows and 3 rows for the brim. If you're going to be making a slouchy beanie, you would follow the pattern of either one of these hats, and you would just continue crocheting until the hat is long enough and slouches to your liking. Also in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how I do my seam just so that there's not any big gaps or holes, and I do that for all of my hats. To start off the first row, we're going to do a magic circle, and the way I like to do mine is I grab the tail of the yarn with my thumb and index finger. I wrap the yarn around my index and middle finger, and as I'm bringing it back over, I'm going to make an X, and then I'm going to hold it with my ring finger and my pinky. And then with my crochet hook facing down, I'm going to go in between my 2 fingers and under the first string on the right, and then I'm going to go over the string on the left, hook it and pull it under, and as I'm pulling, I'm going to turn my hook upwards, and then I'm going to hold on to it with my thumb and index finger, and I'm going to chain 2. Every time we do a chain 2 in this project, you're going to want to make sure that the second chain is a bit looser so it's easier to close off the end of the row. Next, you're going to go ahead and do 10 double crochet into the magic circle, and the way you do that is you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the magic circle, yarn over and pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. One more time, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And you're going to do that 8 more times. Go ahead and double check that you have 10 double crochet, not including the first chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you're going to go ahead and pull that tail so that you can tighten the circle. To close off the row, we're going to insert our hook into that second chain from the beginning. Make sure you have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through, and then pull through. Moving on to the second row is where we're going to start doing our special seam. And I just want to give a disclaimer that doing the seam this way does not make or break the hat. This is just how I like to do mine. But I'm going to go ahead and insert a double crochet at the beginning of the second row and then at the end of the second row. So that first double crochet at the beginning of the row is going to be inserted into where we just did that slip stitch. I'm going to go ahead and take it out so I can show you guys one more time. That slip stitch is going to go into the second chain at the beginning. You're going to yarn over and pull through and then pull through again. And then if you're using a stitch marker, you can go ahead and insert it where you just did that slip stitch. To start off the second row, I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, and I'm going to be crocheting over my tail, so I'm going to bring it to the front of the project, but if you want, you can wait to the end and just sew it in. So I'm going to yarn over and chain 2. Make sure that the second chain is a bit looser. Going to yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into the space where that stitch marker is, which is the same space where we did the slip stitch to close off the end of the first row. So you're going to insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to go ahead and take out that stitch marker and move it to the end of the row. And this stitch marker is going to go right in between this last double crochet and this first chain. So if you kind of pull your project apart a little bit, you'll see the space right in between, right where my nail is. And I'm going to go ahead and put the stitch marker right there. And if you're looking at the project from the top of the stitches, you'll see where I'm talking about, because we have the last double crochet right here. That first chain is right here. And then that stitch marker is going to go in the space right in between. Moving on to the rest of the second row, I'm going to do 2 double crochet into every stitch. 1, 2, 1, 2. And once you've crocheted over your tail enough, you can go ahead and cut it. So I just finished my last 2 increased stitches. I'm going to go ahead and insert a double crochet into the space where the stitch marker is. And once again, that's in between the last double crochet and the first chain. Then I'm going to go ahead and take out the stitch marker. And I'm going to close off the row with a slip stitch just like before. Insert your hook into the second chain from the beginning. Yarn over. Pull through. And then pull through again. Next, I'm going to go ahead and reinsert that stitch marker right where we just did that slip stitch. Before we start the third row, go ahead and double check that you have 20 main stitches going all the way around, not including the first and last double crochet. To start the third row, I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. And I'm going to insert a double crochet into the space where this stitch marker is, which is in between that first chain and that first double crochet from the last row, but I'm not going to complete the entire double crochet. I'm going to yarn over. Insert my hook into that space, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to go ahead and take out the stitch marker. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to insert my hook into that first double crochet from the second row. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. So the reason why I do my seam like this is because when I used to just chain 2 and then insert a double crochet into that first one, there would sometimes be a gap in between. And by using that method, I'm able to get rid of the gap, but because I decrease at the end of the stitch, it doesn't increase the stitch count. Let me know if you need any clarification on that in the comments and I'll be able to help you. So for the rest of the third row, I'm going to decrease every third stitch. So the pattern is going to be 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet. 1, 2, and that third double crochet is going to go into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3. And you're going to do that all the way until we get to the last increase. I just realized that I forgot to insert the stitch marker at the end of the row, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And remember that that's in between the last double crochet and that first chain. So I'm at my last set of 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook into that double crochet from the second row. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2. I'm not going to complete the double crochet. I'm going to yarn over again. And I'm going to insert my hook into the space where I just put the stitch marker. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through all 3. I'm going to go ahead and take that stitch marker out. And I'm going to close off the row like normal with the slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. And I'm going to repeat the same thing for the next 4 rows. So I'm going to go ahead and insert that stitch marker into the space where we just did the slip stitch. To start off the 4th row, I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook into the space where I just put that stitch marker, which is in between that first chain and that decreased stitch from the last row. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Go ahead and take out that stitch marker. Yarn over again, and then I'm going to insert my hook into that decreased stitch from the previous row. Yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 3. And I'm going to go ahead and put the stitch marker into that last space at the end of the row, which is in between that decreased stitch and that first chain. Once again, if you're having trouble seeing where that space is, you can just pull your project apart a little bit and you'll be able to see it. Continuing on with row 4, I'm going to increase every 4th stitch. So the pattern is going to be 1, 2, and then the 3rd and 4th double crochet are going to be in the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to do that all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to insert my hook into the decreased stitch from the previous row. Yarn over and pull through. yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into the space where that stitch marker is. And if you're not using a stitch marker, that's in between that decrease stitch and that chain 1 from the beginning. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. Then I'm going to go ahead and take out my stitch marker, and I'm going to close off the row with the slip stitch into that second chain. Make sure you have both loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. Before we move on to the 5th row, go ahead and double check that you have 40 stitches all the way around, not including the seam. I'm going to go ahead and insert my stitch marker into the space where we just did that slip stitch. Next, I'm going to chain 2, yarn over. I'm going to insert my hook into the space where we just inserted that stitch marker, which is in between that decrease stitch from the previous row and that first chain. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to yarn over again. I'm going to take out the stitch marker, and I'm going to insert my hook into that decrease stitch from the previous row. Yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. Moving on to the 5th row, I'm going to increase every 5th stitch, so the 4th and 5th double crochet are going to be in that same one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that 5th double crochet is going to go in the same stitch. And I'm going to do that all the way around until we get to the last increase. I actually forgot to put the stitch marker in at the end of the row, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in between this decrease stitch and this first chain, right here where my nail is. Finishing up the 5th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is going to go into that same stitch. Next, I'm going to go ahead and yarn over and insert my hook into the decrease stitch from the previous row. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over. I'm going to insert my hook into the space where I just put the stitch marker, which is in between the decrease stitch and that first chain. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 3. Sorry if my camera's going in and out of focus. I don't know why it's doing that right now, but I'm going to go ahead and take out the stitch marker and close up the row like normal with the slip stitch. Make sure you have both loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. So I'm not going to be using a stitch marker for the rest of the project, but just remember that at the beginning of the row, you're going to insert it into the same space where we do the slip stitch, which is in between the first chain and the decrease stitch from the previous row. And then the same thing at the end of the row is going to be in between that decrease stitch and the first chain. And remember to just slightly pull apart your project in case you need to locate where that space is. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into the space where we just inserted our slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over. I'm going to insert my hook into that decrease stitch from the previous row, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. If you're making this hat with chunky yarn, at this point you would go ahead and stop increasing because like I said, it's only going to be 5 rows for the crown. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you would move on to the body of the hat where you just crochet in the round with no increases. Moving on for the rest of this row, I'm going to increase every 6 stitches. So double crochets 5 and 6 are going to go into the same one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is going to go into that same stitch. 6. And I'm going to do that all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just did my last increase stitch, so I'm going to go ahead and yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into that decrease stitch from the previous row. Yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into the space in between this decrease stitch and the first chain. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. Next, I'm going to go ahead and close off the row like normal with the slip stitch into the second chain. Yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. Go ahead and double check that you have 60 stitches all the way around, not including the seam. And for the 5th row, you should have 50 stitches all the way around, not including the seam. Moving on to the last row of the crown, I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. Yarn over, I'm going to insert my hook into the space where we just did that slip stitch, which is in between the first chain and that decrease stitch. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over. I'm going to insert my hook into the decrease stitch from the previous row, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3. For this last row, we're going to increase every 7 stitches, so the 6th and 7th double crochet are going to be in the same one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to do this all the way around until I get to that last increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yarn over, insert your hook into that decrease stitch from the previous row, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook into the space in between the decrease stitch and that first chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, and I'm going to close off the row like normal with the slip stitch, yarn over, pull through again. And we're all done with the crown of the hat. You should have a total of 70 stitches all the way around, not including the seam. And if you find that 70 stitches is too big, or if you want to make a smaller hat, you can stop at 5 or 6 rows. And if 70 stitches isn't enough, you can go up to an 8th row or however many you need to. If you go up to an 8th row and find that 80 stitches is too much, what you can do is kind of go in between sizes. And the way you would do that is by increasing every 15th stitch instead of every 8th stitch. So you would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You wouldn't increase right here. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 will go into the same stitch. If you need any clarification on that, just comment down below and I'll be able to help you out. So moving on to the body of the hat, we're going to go ahead and crochet in the round with no increases. So if I count the crown, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then if I count the body of the hat, it's going to be 13 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we're going to go ahead and start the row off like normal. Chain 2, yarn over, and insert your hook into the space where we just did that last slip stitch, which is in between the first chain and that decrease stitch from the previous row. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook into that decrease stitch from the previous row, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, and then you're going to crochet all the way around with a double crochet into each stitch and no increases. So if I were increasing, I would do 2 double crochet into this stitch, but since I'm not, I'm just going to keep going. Alright, so I'm back at the end of the row and I'm not going to do an increase stitch right here. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to insert my hook into that decrease stitch from the previous row. I'm going to yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into that space in between the decrease stitch and that first chain. Yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, and I'm going to close off the row like normal with the slip stitch into that second chain. So at this point, your hat should start to look something like this. You're going to repeat the same exact thing that I did for the last row for the next 12 rows, including the seam method, and you should have 70 stitches going all the way around. If you found that you have more or less, just go back and double check one of the previous rows to make sure that you didn't skip a stitch or miscount anything. And as you continue to crochet all the way down, your beanie is going to start to form that hat shape, and I'll be back in a couple of rows just to check in. So I'm finishing up row 9, and really quickly, I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like for me to do the seam method in real time. So if you find that doing this method is a bit tricky because it's hard for you to insert your hook into those small spaces, I would suggest once again to make sure that that second chain is looser. And then also when you're doing that slip stitch to close up the row, make sure that that's a bit loose because that'll make it easier to insert your hook into that space at the end of the row. So this is what my hat is starting to look like at this point. And if you're able to, I would suggest that you try it on as you're making it, just so that you know whether or not the body of the hat is too long or too short, and you can adjust it to your liking. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the last few rows, and I'll be back once I get to the end. Alright, so I'm finishing up the last row now. I'm going to go ahead and do that last slip stitch. And then I'm going to chain one. And I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to cut the string. And then I'm just going to pull my hook through and tighten. And you can sew on the tail of your hat however you'd like. You can use a smaller hook or you can use a yarn needle, but I'm just going to use the same hook. The way I do mine is I just insert my hook into the space where I did that last slip stitch. And then I pull the tail through. And then I insert it into the space right next to the chain and the decrease stitch. Pull it back through the other way. And I do that a couple times. And since this is going to end up being the inside of the brim, I'm going to go ahead and weave in the tail into one of these rows. So now that I'm done weaving in the end, I'm just going to go ahead and fold the brim. For my beanies with the weight 4 yarn, I like for my brim to be about 4 rows tall, but if you want yours to be shorter or longer, you can add or take out more rows. And then for my hats with the bulky yarn, I like for the brim to be 3 rows. And now that you're done with the brim, you have yourself a crochet beanie. I really love these hats because they're very customizable. You can play with the sizing by changing the amount of rows that you do at the top of the hat and the amount of rows that you do for the brim. You can do striped beanies, checkered beanies, scrap yarn beanies, beanies with no brim, slouchy beanies, whatever you want. And yeah, that's going to be the end of today's tutorial. Comment down below if you have any questions or need any clarification. Be sure to check the description box because I'm going to include a frequently asked questions section. If you would like to purchase anything from my Etsy, you can also find that link in the description box along with the links to all of my socials. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more crochet tutorials and videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!